I'm going to start us off and say a very big welcome, everybody, to this webinar as part of our CRE series for Bundjalung Country. My name is Sue Kristie. I am a joint appointment between Charles Darwin University and Northern Territory Health Department, and my title is Professor of Primary Healthcare. I've been asked to MC this session, although I have to let you know that I will be having to leave halfway through for another meeting, unfortunately. But I did want to actually do the introduction because the woman that I'm introducing is very dear to my heart, and we have had a long and very productive working and personal friendship over the years. So before I do that, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm calling in from Central Aranda Country and pay my respects to the amazing wisdom of our elders, and pay respects to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that are joining us here today. The recording, you would have been notified as you joined on that we're being recorded. Please keep your microphones on mute, and please ask any questions in the chat box, which we will come to at the end of Kristie's session. That I think someone else is going to have to do because I'll have to leave, unfortunately. I don't have Kristie's bio in front of me, but you all would have had an opportunity to read that already. So I'm going to add a bit of a personal touch by telling the story of when I met Kristie when she applied to do as the manager of the Birthing in Our Communities hub at Salisbury. I don't know, Kristie, 7 or 8 years ago now, 8, 5, 6?
6.
Seems like a 6. And she was a mother of 2 young boys, soon to be 3 young boys. And she came from a business background. She came from Telstra, of all places, but she brought this absolute unique business mind, as well as a huge commitment to community and a huge respect for the women in her life that's made her the person that she is today. So she has been a tremendous role model to staff and family, and I think just about all the lives of the people that she touches. So she was the manager of Birthing in Our Communities for several years. She is now a very senior position within the Institute of Urban Indigenous Health. And like I say, the leadership that she brings to that organization will only benefit not only the organization, but the services and families that they provide support for. So big shout out to you, Kristie. Thank you so much for finding time in your busy schedule to talk to us today and share your experiences as the Senior Manager of both IUE, and of course your intimate knowledge of the Birthing in Our Community program, both initially as a mother and a client, and then of course through the manager of the service. So over to you, Kristie.
Thanks, Sue. I sort of feel like it's my birthday, someone getting up and yarning about who I am, where I come from. So shed a tear. Thank you, Sue. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kristie Watego. I'd like to pay my respects to our elders, past, present, and those emerging, and also acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're all gathering today. I would also like to pay my respects to the Indigenous sisters sitting here on the call, and I can see my beautiful cousin smiling back at me. Hey, Nikki. Which makes me even more nervous, bless. So proud Bundjalung woman, working here at the Institute for almost 6 years now. I was lucky enough to pick up the program manager for Birthing in Our Community, which is where I started my my work here at the Institute. I've loved every single minute of it, and I've been blessed to walk on the shoulders of many incredible women that have gone before me and learn from many more still walking with me. So thanks for the opportunity to yarn with you today. I do have a little presentation, and by all means, I am not great with the IT, so hopefully I can share this quite easily. Sandy, I can see you. Can you give me a nod if you can see my Yep, fantastic, excellent, great. So today I'm here to talk to you really about the family support work, the strength of partnerships, and also the power of our collectivity. But I can't talk to you about that without talking about the Birthing in Our Community program. I know a lot of you have already heard about the program and what it entails, so I won't get into too much detail, but bear with me. So the BoC Birthing in Our Community is a program that has been established here in Southeast Queensland. It did originate from the wonderful Murray Clinic that was provided through the MARTA service here in South Brisbane. Every Thursday, mums were coming in all around South Brisbane to have their antenatal care and then birth within the MARTA system. In the early period, 10 odd years ago, there was a Murray Clinic evaluation and also a World Cafe where multiple people came across from across the system of care to yarn with each other around collectively what we would like to create within this framework. What we ended up coming together, there was about 60 clinicians, families, aunties, uncles, etc., that gave their view as to what ideally they would like to achieve. Each and every day, we strive to actually work towards a birthing centre. Excuse me, as someone just came in there then. A birthing centre, but also looking at what ideally would a safe environment be to actually birth our families. And first and foremost, we've been doing this for 1,000 years. So why do we actually need to birth within a hospital institution to have a healthy bub? So ultimately, the ideal thought was to actually take this care out into the community and ensure that our community started to own this space and really feel like they were taking their health journey back into their own hands. So at the very beginning, there were a collective group, the MARTA Hospital, IUE, along with AICS, all providing different levels of care for different parts of the journey, came together and agreed to sign an MOU and partner as a collective to provide this unique service whereby mum would come onto this particular program. So the Birthing in Our Community program was then established. We had the IBIS study then walk alongside our families for a period of 5 years. And then we moved out to the hub here in 2016, which absolutely changed the program and its outcomes. So within the BoC framework, we absolutely utilise the RISE methodology, which I hope you're all attuned to. So it is all about redesigning the healthcare system, investing in the workforce, strengthening our families, and embedding community. This framework has helped us strengthen our program here at Salisbury and has also helped us look at how we expand this across the Southeast Queensland region. So what does the service look like? So ultimately, we have a mother that will come onto the program. She will get a call from the team here at the hub and congratulate her on her pregnancy journey, and she'll be invited onto the program where mum will have that family support worker who will walk alongside her for the period of her pregnancy up until baby is 3 years of age. During that journey, she will get a midwife who will also care for her during the antenatal period and 6 weeks postnatal. At which point our child health nurses, who will already be engaged with mum, will then take over primary clinical care and then journey with mum up until baby's 3 years of age. During that process, mum will also get to engage with our early learning childhood services and look at contraception, but also importantly throughout that entire period, she is engaging with the wraparound services that are provided here at the hub. So first and foremost, a lot of our families don't even get access to healthcare purely due to transport. So we're breaking that barrier by ensuring that all of our families have transport into the hub for their antenatal appointments. Postnatal care is done in their home. And again, should families wish to engage with the early learning program, we will transport them back into the hub. For whatever reason, when they do need to access the hospital facility, we will transport them into the hospital and again to different scans, GP appointments, whatever that need looks like. Throughout her period of time with the BoC program, Mum has access to intensive support when to quit smoking, and also our social health team. So there's a dedicated social worker as well as a perinatal psych that actually is available to Mum. These two ladies are dedicated to the families who actually sit within this program. So, you know, Freya and Alice sit amongst our team in the kitchen, and it's, you know, very often a mum will come in for an antenatal appointment, sit within the kitchen, grab a cuppa, have a good old yarn to Alice, not knowing she's a social worker, which already starts to break down the barriers as to why she will happily then engage with the social worker if need be. So we always talk here at the Hub about that, you know, birthing is that moment in time. It is a single moment, and we ultimately work here within the Hub to ensure that our families continue on their healthcare journey. So it's not only about making healthy choices during pregnancy, but it's also about acknowledging that perhaps I need to lean into those additional services to help strengthen me and my capacity to parent, to perhaps self-care, to do some healing, but to also acknowledge the fact that you're on this wellness journey, and we should be celebrating the birth and the creation of this new spirit that is sitting within. So why the BoC program works, and it is a relational program. It is all about building that rapport with our families, and ensuring that we are well aligned to our community's needs, and not to, you know, the need that, you know, a manual may say that a mum needs to accomplish during her pregnancy. Our family support workers sit with our families, build and establish a connection, and understand what our obligation to each other is. At the very beginning of this program, I was privileged enough to actually recruit one of our family support workers, Shana, and our immediate connection was my old auntie and her grandmother were best friends growing up. So it was my obligation to Shana and her family to support her on her journey of life, of creating a beautiful family, and accessing healthcare, because that was my obligation to my auntie and her obligation to her best friend, and therefore to her granny. So as blackfellas, we work that way. We look and care after one another. So the support worker is a critical role in building and establishing this program, and ultimately the outcomes that are produced for our mums. But building that rapport, building that trust allows for our families to acknowledge that there is a better way, that perhaps they weren't parented in the most best light, and perhaps they're making a conscious effort to just shift to the left and take a different approach. Our family support workers sit and yarn with the families about what their hopes and dreams are as a family unit, and work with mum and her extended network to help her come up with the ideal plan to establish herself, to ultimately have a strong and deadly family. I share this slide all the time because it represents the, I suppose, the diverse jobs that our family support workers are tasked to do. Again, while we look at, you know, family growth, whether it's contraception or preparing older children for baby to arrive, immunisations, Centrelink, birth certificates, etc., it is all about the individual that sits before you. It is all about that relational connection. And an understanding what is happening for that mother, and mum making the conscious choice that this is what she wants to achieve within this period of time. So again, the family support worker who is engaged with mum at the very beginning of her pregnancy up until baby's 3 years of age, and you know, our mob, by the time baby is 3, she's already cycling through with her second or third anyway, so that family unit becomes a part of who we are here at the Hub. Our midwives, they're dedicated absolutely to walking alongside and learning from our mob. While we do have some quite tight structures around how our midwives provide care, how we actually support our families to minimise and build on their strengths, it is all about ensuring that they are appropriate for this model, which is a relational model. It is all about connection. So some of our midwives who come in with the right intent, who absolutely want to support our families be the best they can be, they don't always fit this model. This model, again, going back to that very first slide, is not about one relationship. It is about the collective group. It is about engaging with all of the services that sit here within the hub to ensure that mum can reach out and lean into that support and build her capacity to be the best she can be. Our midwives understand and support the fact that it is not just about mum and the family and the connection with the midwife, because we are not just here to have a healthy bub, we are here to raise a strong Black Daly family. So these midwives are recruited into this space specifically for that skill, to ensure that we come together as a community to provide the support, and to also, I suppose, advocate and support our families in the understanding that accessing healthcare is their basic human right, that their voices need to be heard, whether that is in the birth suite or whether that is, through their healthcare journey after the fact. It is about their choice, and it is their vision on how their life and how their families' dreams unfold. The early learning team, so this is Candy and our early learning group, and an extension to this is our child health team. So when mum does have her baby, she has the option to continue with our early learning program, which happens every Wednesday and Friday here at the Southside Hub, Thursday on the North. And we sit down and we connect with our bubbas and our mums, and we talk about the importance of learning through play. And what those important milestones are through baby's growth, and what we should be aware of, and what our strengths really are when we are doing that mother crafting, and what our opportunities are and how can we strengthen that. Throughout this period, we're also looking at how our dads actually interface into this, because it is about the family connection and for us to come together as a collective to raise this community, to raise our mob. So again, going back to the partnership, and we say partnership, but it is about the family connection. It is about the collectivity, which is our strength. Our families come into this space and they gift us and honour us with the opportunity to support them on their healthcare journey, to support them through this beautiful spiritual space of having a baby and creating this family unit. And so we walk with them to provide these options of services that exist here within the hub, not a referral system out, but here within the hub. But to ensure that our families feel safe actually putting their hand up and saying, hey, could we, perhaps I'm not in a healthy relationship, and, yeah, he doesn't hit me, but maybe it is, he does control me. Maybe he does control my finances a little too much. Just becoming aware and understanding that, there is a better way, and whatever you wish to achieve as a mama, you can absolutely do this through this period of wellness and, the birth of this new spirit within your family unit. So across this space, every single team member, every single family member, we need to ensure that we are all well aligned about what our core values are. We all need to understand that we can't do this alone. What I bring is very different to what a midwife brings. What the transporter brings is very different to what our family support workers bring. But as a collective, we work really well together, and ultimately that's what produces these outcomes for our families. Building that trust, having that healthy conflict, which is always a great opportunity for us to establish a stronger connection. Respectful communication, and delivering on our obligations, knowing that we are here for mob. And going back to the point that Sue referenced earlier, is I too have been a mama on this program. I'm really proud to say that my mum has 9 grannies on this program. So we don't build this program for someone else, and that someone else will never know. We build this for our family. So to ensure that they are safe, that they get the best healthcare, we need to ensure that as a collective we're working together to strengthen that relationship. So the family support worker, again, stays connected through that journey. So it's, again, while it is birthing is that moment in time, and having that family support worker that walks alongside mum, that builds that relationship with the family unit, and journeys with her over that 3 years and 9 month period, is such a special time, but also a great opportunity to strengthen the family and to allow them to find their voices, to be able to focus on all of their strengths as a parent, because, you know, we as blackfellas have always been told over the years that you're not good enough. You've always been overlooked, so you never feel good enough. You're always sitting there justifying your position. Well, we are here to say that you are all that we need. You are all that your baby needs. And how do we build on that as a collective? So that is the role of the family support worker, and that is why it is so critical, because it's ultimately leads to the incredible outcomes that this program has actually provided. So through all of the additions of those other family members that sit within that BoC framework, you know, our aunties, our transporters that bring our mamas in, our family support workers that maintain that relationship throughout that journey, our midwives that nurture those mamas during that period and through that spiritual moment of birth. You know, our child health nurses, our early learning officers, our social health team. This is ultimately the outcome of their work and their commitment, their obligation to our community. So here is some community feedback that's been shared over the years from our families. And again, it just highlights the importance of the family support worker role. It highlights the importance of the fact that there is someone that believes in me, that for once there is someone that is calling me to see how I am as a mama and checking in with me. And I feel our mums feel valued because someone is actually looking out for them. And unfortunately, that is the first time for some of our mamas, you know, but then also to acknowledge those mums that are incredibly strong, you know, striving and achieving great things in life. We all stumble, and it's such a privilege to be able to have the strength of the family support worker there, who is always there to support our families in whatever that stumble may look like. So that's me talking about, I suppose, the strength of the family support worker role, and the importance of it, and how we here at the Hub certainly leveraged from the family support worker role, but ultimately it's our obligation back to community, caring for our family. I have always, and I always do share this, and I'm not going to look up because I will see Nikki, but I have had the great privilege of sitting at the feet of my beautiful mama, listening to my old aunties talk about their trials and tribulations as a mother, as a wife, as a sister, as an auntie, carrying much more than they ever should in life. I've had that privilege to learn and to listen and to see them walk that journey where a lot of our families have not. So this space provides this beautiful place where they can sit and connect with each other and hear about how someone else who is similar to me, who has walked the same journey as I in life, is managing and dealing with that, how she's actually reaching out for help and how that's completely okay. And seeing that vulnerability only strengthens another who will then walk that same path. So thank you. I hope that was helpful in some way. Any questions?
That was just fantastic, Kristie. So beautiful. I feel quite tearful, actually. Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask Kristie? Sue Kildea, of course.
Thanks, Kristie. That was absolutely tremendous. It's just such a wonderful program. I just love touching base and hearing about it as it's grown and changed over the years. I think one of the things I was going to ask you about is maybe you could provide a bit more of an overview of how the role of the family support worker has changed over time. And I've actually got two questions, if that's allowed. So just a little bit about how it's changed over time, but also we've talked a lot at various times in these sort of models about whether the family support worker role would be better as a 24/7 role, working in the same way as the midwives do, so that there's somebody available across, weekends, after hours, etc. And there's pros and cons of that. And I thought maybe you could just touch on that a little bit for us too.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sue.
Thanks.
So originally we had an Aboriginal health worker who was a part of the Birthing in Our Community program, who supported families alongside our midwife. I remember the moment that we made a conscious effort to move away from the health worker. We completely trust our midwives to provide the appropriate antenatal, postnatal care. So therefore, my understanding, or I suppose my challenge is that when I'm sitting with a mother, I can source support about how to seek clinical support. We have our midwives, we have our child health nurses. But as a mama, I'm sitting here going, you know what, you're telling me I should stop smoking, and I understand the impacts of what that means to my body and how that will help me carry my baby longer. But you know what, it's the only 5 minutes I get to step away from a hectic house, that perhaps isn't the best, that I get a moment to actually have a quiet moment to myself. So with that thought, we went, well, we need to make a conscious effort to look at the social determinants that actually sit within our family, and really look at strengthening that and understanding why we have families who aren't necessarily in a healthy relationship, understand what those strengths actually look like, and focusing on those social determinants actually address the core issues. Something I love here at the Hub is that if you were to talk to the team leader, the family support worker, the social health team about these clinical outcomes, they would not be able to talk to you about those, because that's not what we focus on. What we focus on is the social determinants of our families, and the family support worker role really allows us to address and focus on what mum wants right now. So rather than hammering on to her, you really need to stop smoking, absolutely she does, but that doesn't help her in the scheme of things when she's actually in this relationship, or she's using that for another need. We need to understand what that need is to actually fix and help her make the conscious effort to correct that, so she will stop smoking. So we made the conscious effort to come away from another clinical role into a role where we had Mob talking to Mob about what mum wanted to achieve. And also, I bang on about this all the time, is that having a baby is a beautiful moment, and when we sit there and we go through the process of care, when we're constantly saying, well, what else is happening for you? It feels like you're being diagnosed constantly about what's wrong with you. What do I have to stop doing, et cetera, et cetera. I was a mum that had GDM, and the most insulting process was someone sitting with me with a plate and talking to me about portion size at the age of 35. So that's not going to do anything but force me to run from the system. I'm never going to another one of those appointments, but if I can sit down with someone that can relate to what's going on for me, and unpack what that looks like at a pace that I feel safe at, then I'm more open to that. So that's why we made the conscious decision to move away from the health worker and make it more mob to mob, family support worker and role. In regards to the 24/7 role, Sue, I absolutely love and support. We are hoping to do something here within the Institute as well. We've got MobLink, but again, that's not personalised. But we would love to see something like that for, really.
Take a drink, Kristie. There's nothing worse than having a frog in your throat when you're in the middle of a presentation. I'll just carry on talking while you until you feel better.
Thank you. Yeah, so we would love to do that, especially for a really critical item. But it's also, I feel too, while we need appropriate cultural and clinical supervision for our midwives, which is so important, that needs to be strengthened all the time and to be reviewed at all times as well. I also think it is the responsibility of the wider community and the wider society to actually support and manage every situation that arises, not necessarily always looking to a black fella to resolve it, you know. So I think it's the accountability of all of us to actually support, regulate, walk with, and provide that safe space and to build that skill. I know that that's quite complicated in a 24/7 you know, range, but it's something absolutely worth exploring and something I completely support.
Thanks, Kristie. I can see Sarah's got a question there. Sarah, did you want to ask the question?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey sis, how are you?
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Loved your presentation. It's really exciting to see how much BoC has grown since Kayla and I were doing the IBIS surveys. I just had a question about the family support workers. Do you think that because the role is very unique and important, that it would be beneficial to have like a sort of training or certificate that you know, our mob could get into so that we can kind of roll out that role in other services?
Yes, absolutely.
What would it look like?
I think I love that a lot of our family support workers are organically grown. They live here, they work here, you know, our work doesn't stop 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. You get a tap on the shoulder at footy on Sunday to say this went wrong and you have to address it, because that's what family do. But I totally agree, Sarah, that we do need to absolutely strengthen the capacity of our family support workers through certain qualifications, because the prior learning, it absolutely exists. They would easily accomplish a lot of these diplomas that currently exist. I know that the current need has changed quite significantly here in Southeast Queensland around mental health. So we're looking at what can we support our family support workers in from a mental health perspective. But again, more importantly, pathways into bigger and greater things should the family support worker want that. One of the things that we're looking here at the Institute is pathways into social health, so into a social worker role, looking at prior learning, because the reason why we have one family support worker, a social health worker here at the hub is because our family support workers do an incredible job. You know, the amount of stuff that we learn from each other is huge. And sometimes that is all we need, is the direction from another sister who's actually walked the path, not someone that's necessarily sat down and accomplished something through you know, an institution. However, I acknowledge that builds capacity within our family support workers and allows them to go on to bigger and better things to support our families on a different platform. So yes, totally agree. Mental health is something that we're looking at, as well as social worker roles and pathways into how to, you know, venture into that particular career as well.
Thanks, Kristie. I've got a couple more questions, but I think we should see if anyone else has got questions first. Anybody else got their hand up? Sandy does. Can you hear
us?
Hi,
Kristie. Thank you for your presentation. It was really so good. My question is about, you know that I work in the support service for the ANFPP and the data team there. My question is about how the BoC fits in with the ANFPP, and would a woman ever be in both programs, or would you just recommend that they have one or the other? How would that work in the organisation?
Yeah, thanks, Sandy. First and foremost, it's always about choice. It's always mama's choice. And we've seen mums come onto the BoC program and absolutely choose to engage with the ANFPP program over BoC. And that usually is due to family connections. and or perhaps a family member's gone through the ANFPP program as well. We introduce the ANFPP program to all of our first-time mums at BoC, and it's then mum's choice whether or not she does take on the ANFPP program. However, we do not want, no one wants, not a mama doesn't want 4 people at her constantly about how are you going with that, and 2 different programs. So we do make a conscious effort for mum to make the choice about what her primary program is, and then the other then steps back. So our family partnership workers, as well, I should say BoC and ANFPP are co-located in both North and South teams. So they work quite closely together, and we're getting, I suppose, closer in the way in which we operate to ensure, one, we're not over-servicing, and 2, it's all about choice and allowing our families to choose what is right for them and their family unit.
Yeah, so the BoC has that additional clinical component to it as well.
Yes, correct.
And also support during labour and birth at the hospital.
Yep, it's
amazing.
Yep. Mum is birthed by her dedicated midwife who provides all the antenatal care here at the hub, and then postnatal care in mum's home. Yeah,
that's a fabulous choice, isn't it? I mean,
it is.
Yeah, I thank you, Kristie.
Kristie, just before we go on, I thought maybe not everybody knows what ANFPP stands for. So could you just explain a little bit about that so that they understand the difference between BoC and ANFPP?
Yeah, sure. So ANFPP, Australian Nurse Family Partnership Program, is a program that's offered, it's actually across 13 sites here in Queensland. We have 2 sites here at Southeast Queensland, North and South. Mum, it is for first-time mamas. Mum will get a family partnership worker who will walk with mama up until baby's 2 years of age, and also a nurse home visitor who will provide in-home education around baby and mum's requirements up until, again, baby is 2 years of age. The referral process is that a referral will come in. Hopefully, our ANFPP team will pick up the referral before mum's 28 weeks, and then they'll start this intensive family program, which does change. So at times it's every 2 weeks, and it increases to monthly, and then depending on mum's journey, where she is in her 2-year period, the visits will change. We actually had 11 families graduate from ANFPP South today, so that was lovely to see. So the programs are very different, but again, they're co-located within the same hub, so they can access and support each other. And again, we only have a small number of families. There's actually 10 at the moment on the south side, 3 on the north, who actually have accessed both programs at the same time. So it's a small number, but still it does occur, and we, ensure that we're, one, giving mum choice, but also ensuring that there is that information sharing as well, so mum's not having to repeat her story.
Any other questions from anyone? Catherine.
Hi, my name's Catherine, and I'm from Melbourne in Victoria, and I'm a uni student from ACU, 3rd year midwifery. This is exactly what we were discussing just last week, actually, implementing some sort of system and having a centre down here in Melbourne. I'm not sure if we have that here, and I haven't heard of that as yet. And I know that there's a lot of talks going around with different hospitals, but there's a big need for that down here as well in the metro area. Not enough Indigenous midwives. There's only a few of us here in Melbourne, and we're amongst the few of us in our cohort. There's a few that want to get this happening down here in Victoria. So yeah, just putting it out there, and thanks for the discussion.
Happy to yarn with you any other time, Catherine, but it's something that is posed to us all the time. How do we actually get something like this up and running? And going back to the very beginning with IUE AICS and the MARTA, it was it was actually our leaders, I suppose, truly showing some true courage around the fact that they had to acknowledge that they in themselves could not offer everything to ensure that our families got what they needed and to truly close the gap realistically. And what they acknowledged is that the institution of the Mater, who I love and adore, had all my 3 babies there, could not provide this service, but they had the courage to actually go out to AMSs and say, how do we do this? We need community control. And then going back to that RISE framework as well, embedding community and embedding that control, ensuring that it is mob that is actually creating and designing this program and delivering it for them, because no one knows what's best for mob other than mob, you know? So it is about the collective, you know, you're getting VARs together to yarn through with the institutions around how can we actually deliver this. We're delivering pockets and, you know, antenatal care within this system at the moment. How can we as a VARs society provide family wellbeing services and partner with you to then establish some sort of program that can provide this holistic care to our families. I can't emphasize enough, though, that we can't just focus on the birth of the baby, because what we find with our families is that they're sitting there then with these beautiful fat bubbas, but don't know what to do with them. Exactly. You know, and don't know where to go when they have no support. So it is about establishing the community that sits around that family that they can continue to engage with, because you don't know what to expect when you simply don't know. You know, and we all think just because we're a mature woman, like I was 33 when I had my first bub and I fell at 4 months. You know, I was like, I have plenty of family around, but at 4 months I just hit a wall. I had no idea what to do, who to go to. And it was a child health nurse that just happened to show up, and I went, here it is. You know, so we need to ensure that we're building this community so that it's not just about, okay, I have this beautiful healthy bub now, but what happens to me now? You know, how do I parent? How do I look after myself? If I'm still breastfeeding, how do I stay strong so I can continue to give that to bub? What does my contraception look like? You know, so it is about our health system, going back to the redesign, our health system actually having the courage to say, I as one institution don't have enough. And I need to look to my community, to the community, to say, you have the answers. You tell me what we need to do. Here are the resources. What can we do as a collective? You know, I know that seems quite simple. And I know it takes a hell of a lot of hard work. But it is about constantly the healthcare system that this is not enough. It's not good enough. You know, so again, you know, and then getting our AMSs engaged to say, well, how do we support our families? You know, but happy to yarn that through with you, Catherine, and, you know, looking at VARs and the support that their family health and wellbeing team can actually provide our families at birth with you, you know, and then that exit out and wrapping some sort of support around them.
We've got a question there from Juanita.
Well, it's probably not a question, but it's sort of a response to Catherine firstly. And I was just thinking that perhaps, Catherine, it's an opportunity to talk to many sites as well. And I know that Wominda in New South Wales is another site that is looking at Bundjalung Country. It hasn't got the ANF program yet, but, you know, I think there's some really good reasons at looking at what's around. I think you've got some strong people in Victoria to definitely build that space and maybe connect with Cats and M as well, seeing you're a student, to try and get some backup. But also I just wanted to ask Kristie, and I think this is something I've noticed with working with Wominda, is the importance of the support, the total support you provide a family, you know, and how you can, well, I've seen how this program actually keeps children with families rather than having children taken away. And I think that's another reason for why this is a vital program, and how it saves the government $1,000, you know, $1 million a year to put a child in care. Whereas if we are running these programs in our communities, and I agree totally, Kristie, it's about changing the health system to meet our needs rather than, and I think people like yourself should be directing exactly how those changes need to be accomplished. And I'm hoping in my role that I might be able to get to speak to a lot of you about how and what other things that you feel need to be built into this program to better support families and communities. And the social emotional wellbeing space, I guess you said, is really vital to really explore and build into this.
Thanks, Wendy. Can I just say as well, I couldn't agree more around the narrative with child safety. We constantly work to keep our families out of the system.
Yes, exactly.
And it is simple as our bark just needs to be louder.
Yeah.
Honestly. But again, you have a young mum that has been in care and has been beaten down so much and told how she's not good enough.
Exactly.
And then when someone questions her, or she's being surveilled throughout her pregnancy, throughout her life,
right,
she's been absolutely beaten down so much she won't lift her head to fight. Yeah. She thinks if she says nothing, then it's going to be okay. That it's enough of that, you know, and that's what we're here to do, is absolutely advocate and fight for her. And what I haven't mentioned is our legal team here that absolutely is a strong part of the BoC framework as well. And we absolutely get engaged with service centres around Southeast Queensland to advocate for our families and to hold them to account as to why they are considering a removal, and hold them to account as to why they continue to justify the discussion of a family because that mother was in the system herself. She should be, if the system was right, she should actually be an ideal parent.
Yes.
You know, but, you know, that's the system in which they've created, and we are here to correct it. Exactly. But it is about us ensuring that, and it's really hard to be able to work out how much effort goes into keeping our families out of the system. But we will continue to do it and continue to advocate for our families. And you see an incredible mama rise through that 3-year period for her own voice to be heard, and she will actually express her choice. And that is a beautiful thing. We've accomplished so much when our mamas start talking for themselves and say, you know, hold up, you know. But yeah, child safety is a massive challenge for us, but we will continue to do what we do. And again, sometimes it is just, you know, having that, being that tad louder, I suppose, engaging with those legal services.
Great, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Kristie, can I just suggest one more? We're just about out of time, but I know there's one more story that everyone would probably really enjoy hearing. And it's how the family support worker role was used to support your 2 midwifery cadets that you know, graduated from midwifery with that sort of Salisbury hub sort of, you know, gathering around them and helping to support the 2 cadets. So
yeah, sure.
If you could just touch base on that, because that also was very, very challenging to try and get the cadetship role to work well within BoC. But yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so the midwifery cadets that we have had is their primary focus when they do join BoC is not to learn more about being a great midwife. They are learning that through the system, through university. When they come into our space, it is all about learning the importance of connecting with our families, focusing on that social and emotional well-being, and strengthening their capacity to understand how do you walk the journey with our mothers, understanding that these are the complexities that may face them. And the system sees it as complexities, but I see it as, that's my family. That's the way in which I was brought up. It's not complex. That's who I am. So, you know, supporting these 2 beautiful midwives during their journey of going through uni was incredible, watching these ladies rise to the occasion against the system as well. They absolutely were given a hard run in regards to their education and I suppose their studies during the year, but we were able to support them where we can in providing them a safe space to, 1, come study, 2, come to a safe space to be able to debrief with midwives, with professors, and with, you know, family support workers about ideally what is it that we want to achieve and what is the ultimate outcome for supporting our mob birth in a healthy, safe environment. So those midwives have gone on to now become a part of the Logan, soon to be BoC space, which is great, but are absolutely thriving within the system, having the balance of not only understanding clinically what's required for our families, but also knowing the complexities that they face when they actually do interface into the institution, any institution to birth. We have a new cadet with us that's joined our space as well, and we continue to encourage those young Black midwives coming through the ranks and to come and volunteer here at the hub to learn more about the social well-being and the journey of our families, because we hope that provides a stronger balance going into the system of care of being an all-round midwife for some of our mums. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Kristie. That's just about it. I meant to do it before, sorry. We've got just a couple of minutes. Juanita, when you were talking about your role, you didn't explain it very well, and it fits in quite nicely here with what we're talking about. Do you want to just give people an overview of what it is that you're currently doing?
Well, I've been employed to develop a curriculum for the family workers, and basically we're going to do some research ethics to, sorry, my cat has to be involved in everything. We're going to be doing some interviews with people to look at what you think is really vital to the development of these roles and how they best suit the community. And I guess basically I'm working with the ANS team at the moment to learn and build relationships, which is, I think you said, Kristie, really that's the vital part of this whole space, and that's what I'm trying to do to start the work and to gain learnings from all of you. And this has been such a rich opportunity, so I'd love to talk to you some more around what you think is really critical. And Sue Krusky has also recommended that we look at other programs, but it appears how important, it's, yes, and I will send my details out there. You can contact me, juanita.sherwood@cdu.edu.au. Love to talk to anyone around what you think's vital in this space, but I come with a nursing and a teaching background, so I'm used to doing curriculum, and I just love to listen more to the really good stories that you are telling, and Sandy's showing us how good this program is as well with data, etc. So there is amazing things coming, but I think the really important thing is the way Kristie and others are steering the boat and developing the program to be relevant to our communities, and that's going to be the big success of what we do. And I think it's really critical that I listen to you all to make sure that I get what you think is really vital in this space.
And for anyone that doesn't know Juanita, she's an Aboriginal academic that has been a leader in nursing, actually, originally, and done some amazing work in Otitis Media and various other places, worked across Redfern, across far west New South Wales and Central Australia and many other places. She is leading a decolonisation agenda at the Molly Centre, decolonisation in health, education and research. She's a professor in decolonisation in those three areas. So really important addition to the Molly Centre, and we're so pleased you're going to be leading that work, Juanita. It's very exciting. Sue Moore has put the Bundjalung Country Centre for Research Excellence web link in the chat for anyone who hasn't visited that before. We save, it takes us a little while, we save these recordings and they're available for anyone who hasn't been.
It's gone.
the monthly seminar series are all on the website there. So if anyone wants to get their teams together and you know, once a month watch the recordings, they're there, and there's some great stuff in each and every one of them. Kristie, thank you so much. I just love listening to you and how much how you're so incredibly inspiring to listen to, and the work that you're doing and leading in IUE is amazing. IUE as an organisation has got scale out. We about scale out and scale up, and scaling out is when you've got something great and you then start you know, another one here and another one there, another one there, and that's what IU is doing across Southeast Queensland. There's going to be birthing our community programs in multiple areas, each and every one of them with family support workers firmly embedded in the centre with the mums and the bubs. So thank you for your time, Kristie. It's always just great listening to you, and thank you everyone else who's joined us for the session. Sue Mac's got one final
thing. Thank you, Kristie. It was inspirational. I just love hearing you talk. Just to let everyone know, I know I'm like a broken record, but we will be having a Bundjalung Country conference in Alice Springs in October. All of you will be getting a invite soon to register for it, hopefully by the end of the week perhaps, and you'll be able to hear Kristie speak again if she can attend. We're hoping to add a couple of sessions, and hopefully Juanita as well, and people can network and talk to each other face to face, which I think is a real bonus with these big gatherings. So watch this space, or a space. Thanks everybody, and thanks Kristie.
Thank you. See you there.
See you there. Can't wait to see everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.